transpersonal really means looking at the whole individual,
Mm-hmm.
working with the whole individual, and helping that person to transcend wherever they're stuck at into their highest potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their most um, positive potential, that like their whole potential. So it's like taking that person, you have to meet them where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put on them what your expectations are, and then working with that person to literally transcend. And that's where that transpersonal part comes in, to transcend the state of being of where they're at into um, their highest potential.
I
And
like that
that
definition.
varies person to person. Yeah, yeah, I think that's really it.
And so, doing that work, you found this whole new journey, because to some degree you didn't feel like you were capable of doing that work with adults, and having an opportunity to work with kids, where they don't have as much baggage, was more exciting then. Would that be?
I mean, some people say, "Oh God, how can you do that work? It's so heartbreaking, like working with children." And it's a skill level. It's a skill
Mm-hmm.
level. I mean, I remember my first paid internship at Naropa was with Denver Mental Health, rehabbing dual diagnosis, which is homeless street people who are drug addicts who are basically
Mm-hmm.
self-medicating. That is the hardest population on the planet. I would not venture into doing that again. Although it was, I cut my teeth on it. So I went for the toughest,
Right.
sort of work my way down. Been there, done that. One of my colleagues worked on Skid Row for 6 years. You do what you can, but at that point, you're working with the human mechanism so damaged beyond recognition, just a walking zombie, literally. There's brain damage, there's organ damage, there's body damage, there's emotional damage, spiritual damage, you name it. There's damage on every level.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the healing process is mutual. You cannot lift someone out of the gutter unless they give you their hand. And when someone is to that point of damage, the best thing that you can give to them are parameters of safety, like housing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just been this big push to get the homeless off the streets of LA, and housing, food, the very basics, nutrition, that becomes the fundamental best approach of healing for people that damaged, is give them food and shelter. And
Yeah.
from there, maybe they can decide, maybe, but oftentimes they don't. So, I decided that children were a lot more helpful. And again, with children, it's providing the safety and the structure. So, I had to go through a year of testing. They do not take it lightly. It was
That's good to
intensive.
hear. That's good to hear that the city is, putting you
They
through
vet
the
you pretty
yeah.
heavily. And I went in there and I sort of said to one of the older women, I said, because I was like the last one who left. There's a test, the first test, it's like a 4-hour test, and it's a lot of practical questions, a lot of ninth grade math that I was like, what the heck? Like, I don't remember any of this. But I was one of the last people to leave, and I kind of said to one of the older women when I was placed at my location, I said, I felt really humble to be one of the older people there. There are all these young college students, and I call them young brains. Like, they just whip through it and we're out.
Yeah.
And I really lingered like an additional 30 minutes. And she said, we want more seasoned people because there's more longevity. Like, the
Yeah.
attrition rate is less, because the younger people come in and, maybe they're still living with mom and dad, or maybe they want to, move out of state or whatever. They're more flighty. And so I think people with a little bit more experience under their belt, they tend to stay for more personal reasons, and the job security, the stability. And there's nothing like county benefits. There's nothing like government
Yeah.
benefits. I'll tell you
Well, I
that.
imagine that having a daughter also is a massive difference, because probably most of those, kids um, didn't have children and may not even know where they want to end up, or, and they're just applying for a job, because they need a job.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the majority of my coworkers are, older,
Mm,
um, and mostly women of color, mostly
mhm,
mostly Black women who I think definitely want to see change and social change, and still one of the highest populations that are in child protective services is Black children. So I think that they've seen what's happened in this country, and it's still happening, and they want to see that change happen from the ground up. So it's very meaningful work for sure. It's very exhausting work
oh, I
on
bet.
a lot of different levels, and very challenging. Yeah, but I would say that all that Jedi training definitely prepared me, and each person who comes to the job has their own, what they say, their own reason why, the why. Why are you
Mm,
here? Right. So each person has their why. And for me, it just became really practical at that point. It was right pre-pandemic that I got accepted and placed. So I've been working through the whole pandemic,
oh, wow.
which has
Okay.
really kind of normalized my life, right? It's like
For
not
sure.
much changed except that I had to wear a mask. But and then we were under quarantine. The county was shut down for 5 months. But other than that, it was like business as usual for the
Do
most
you
part.
have ties to Naropa still? Do you have any take part in any of the alumni um,
I
activities?
mean, I'm tied to them online. Like I'm part
Mhm.
of a lot of social media groups. I've sort of, wanted to go back and teach at some point. Particularly like,
Specifically to go teach there, though.
yeah, I mean, I've thought about teaching on and off over the years, like doing
Mhm.
seminars, and I've done a couple of like very minimal speaker series here and there,
It's
but
cool.
I particularly want to pass on this technique that I've developed, this quantum healing technique.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that it is teachable. It's a technique. So,
Yeah, I mean, if it's a
it's,
technique, I would think it has to be teachable.
yeah, it's teachable. And so I've thought of, at some point maybe doing a seminar there, like a summer seminar or something like
Mhm.
that.
Well, that's cool. I mean, are you tied to LA mostly because of your daughter, or do you have other ties to LA as far as why you're staying here?
I mean, they say that LA is now more expensive than New York.
Very
It's funny
expensive
because
city.
I've always felt that I've been a visitor here.
Hmm.
Um, One of my aunts gave me a book called Third Culture Kids, which is kids, and the high school that I went to in New York was the UN school, the United Nations High
Oh,
School, and
cool.
that was really, I felt that that's where I belonged because it was all third culture kids. It's kids who don't belong to one culture and don't
Mhm.
belong to one country, and have lived in multiple cultures and multiple countries. So I kind of, like Thich Nhat Hanh just passed, and
Mhm.
he, of course, was Buddhist. And one of his teaching seminars, he talked about home being within, like home is yourself. So I think I've really struggled with like, where is home? But I realized I had this epiphany during the pandemic that probably what has cemented me here and drawn me here is the ocean,
Mm.
because I grew up on, first 6 years of my life was a beach. And so just the familiarity of the ocean, I think it's like those little baby turtles, like they go back to that same beach, so even though I can't go back to that same beach, or, it'd be a big trip, or
Yeah.
it's not feasible for me to live there, but it's something familiar about that. Like my
Want more? Check out this clip or the full episode. And don't forget to leave a comment. If you want more conversations and clips, check out our channel. Thanks for listening. See you next time.